It just feels like all the cogs aren't turning correctly. And D+ aren't messing around.
No crocodiles allowed.
Neither are DRX, the Lee Sin ban.
Yeah, you love that.
See one of those.
And this is like, we're aiming at Frog and we're aiming at Lucid, and that makes a fair bit of sense here. You can see Lucid is like, dang, I can't play Lee Sin. Corki, a weird ban, personally. I don't necessarily feel like it is all that mandatory, but this one is, the Vi needs to be taken away. Kind of ridiculous that Lucid is this good. And banning the Lee Sin sort of does double duty, as does the Vi as well, because it means that Showmaker, it's less likely for him to go towards the Twisted Fate or the Talia 2 picks that he has been extraordinarily good at. Of course, he's got other things, so we'll see exactly what that is going to be. Is it going to be Corki Tristana or Corki Sejuani? Will be the Sejuani taken away here. And I really like the banning of the Sejuani because I think Lucid looks so much better on these more aggressive picks. And when they have first picked Sejuani, it's just felt like the early game has been so sluggish for D+.
Yeah, I also feel like the pool we see Showmaker bring out doesn't necessarily match as well to Sejuani as some of the other picks Lucid has. Rommel going to be banned. Obviously, caught the last series and so it can be done. But Ezreal left open. That will be picked up by aiming. Definitely an aiming pick.
Oh, yeah. The
self-proclaimed
best Ezreal in the LCK. I'll have you know. Self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed.
Yes.
That sort of... those two words doing a lot of... I guess it's one word with the hyphen in the middle, but that's doing a lot of work there.
It's a fair bit of a caveat.
Yeah, a big one, a solid one. Ash going to come through from DRX, and then Nidalee, a bold one.
That's a happy birthday sponge. Like, you can play something a bit more fun. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's going to be allowed to do that in Game 2, depending on how this one is going to go. But already, Teddy is a great Ashe player, and having the veteran of the team, the one with control of when to start off these fights, I think is a big boon. Although Pleta has been pretty reliable at that as well. But Ezreal versus Ashe. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This is a 14-year-old matchup. I
mean, maybe they saw the series against Gen G when aiming got hit by that Ashe arrow at the critical moment, and it ended up losing the series. So maybe that's what they're banking on. But a lot of control when you have the Hawk shot, the slow from the volley, and the Nidalee. And Viego going to come in, and it looks like they might be going for the Twisted Fate. Again, toying with it, but aside from the LeBlanc, still a pick with decent setup for the Viego, but a lot of burst potential, very scary to deal with as an Ashe.
This is very scary, though, because this shows that D+, they went back, they weren't happy with the Gen G series. Zephyr was actually pretty outspoken, saying that he felt like he messed up the draft in Game 3, and the game was definitely winnable in Game 2, so they have some regrets there. But going back to what made Game 1 so good for them in their most recent series, in having a whole lot of punch from the mid-jungle, and that is precisely what they've done here. Yahoo is going to go back towards the Tristana. This is something that we've seen banned pretty consistently, was banned in the last couple of games that we just saw today. It was nerfed, but maybe not nerfed enough. But we'll see whether it can get through what is already a very dynamic duo. And there's not a whole lot of synergy between Nidalee and Trist if you can't hit those initial spears.
Yeah, I think having lockdown and engage in those last two picks for DRX is going to be really important. Karma ban comes through. I think D+ have to ban Braum in this situation. Just for the potential counter pick from DRX, it could be really threatening. They go for the Renata initially. We did see Ashe Renata used a brilliant effect
that was
yesterday.
terrifying.
So they definitely are concerned about the counter pick potential from DRX pairing with this Ashe. I think if I was DRX, probably just ban Leona in this situation, because you should expect the D+ to ban Braum, but they end up going for the Rakan. So, I mean, I feel like it's just telegraphing the Braum a bit too hard, because now D+ just ban it for sure. And I guess maybe that the mindset is, well, if they do that, we'll pick Leona on 4. But I think D+ can still take Alistair for Kellen, and they'll be pretty fine with that. So we'll see what they opt to do.
Yeah, they might have, maybe they have a plan for the Braum, but I think banning it makes the most sense, and there it goes. They just spend a lot of time thinking, and that made me nervous. Leona probably going to be coming in here. No point in saving that one, I don't think, just because it has been so incredibly powerful. Pleta does like to default to it. And now we can counterpick for Frog in the top lane. Is it just like, is it Aatrox time for Kingen? Or is he going to go towards the Gnar instead? I imagine like Gnar feels like it's a little bit more consistent for Kingen. He has been very, very good on the champion as well.
Yeah, it's probably just Gnar Alistair, honestly. I'm not sure. You know, we saw Keen play the Callister into it. I'm not sure Frog is going to whip out the Callister into the Gnar. But if he does, I'll be very shocked.
That'd be fun. Maybe he's just been, that's what he's been doing. He's just been practicing playing all the 80 carries in the top lane.
Yeah. And then
it's just going to be Lucian locked in.
Comes in as a super sub. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what Kellen picks. I feel like Alistair's been very good on and works well as a matchup in Leona, but maybe he wants to go in a little bit of a different direction. And the answer is no.
Yeah, so it is just exactly what we said. And then Cassante picked into Gnar. The good old Frog self-counter pick action. We've seen this every game so far today on red side. It is just pick Cassante into stuff you don't win against.
Yep, and I'm not particularly surprised. I feel like Cassante Leona, when you look at the composition with the double 80 carries and then the land spears, not surprised that they have this combo, but the problem is you've given over D+ a matchup they're fine with the Alistair into Leona. Alistair done extremely well when it's been played in the LCK, and also Kellen has been really glowing up on this pick, and then the Gnar into Cassante. I think, honestly, D+ really happy with the draft. You know, they have the Ezreal for the mid-game spike. They have fine matchup in the top lane. I think Showmaker's going to be happy with his matchup, confident with the LeBlanc pick into the nerf Tristana, who can't push as easily with the mana cost and Q. And Ezreal, you know, he's just so strong. The Alistair can kind of keep the Leona at bay, and even though the Ashe is a pretty strong level 1, Ezreal does too, and in the mid-game, you just take over. So I think D+ fine with this, but I still think DRX have options. I just think this comp would be a lot stronger if it was pre-nerf Tristana, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Tristana does still prove to be that pushing threat that we know it to be, there is avenues in the mid-game. I do think it's going to start off very difficult, though, especially with the amount of agency Lucid's going to have with at least a couple of winning lanes at the start of this. So DRX, they're going to have to play around the birthday boy, see whether Sponge can get himself into the right positions. He's a malleable object. See whether he can do it. Let's jump into the Rift for game number 1. That D+ fan chant was kind of like a jump scare. I don't know whether they've like upped the volume of the fan chants in my ears today, but it's been pretty impressive. The representation, it is an absolute full house here as well.
Showmaker's got Ignite, and Electrocute was changed not too long ago to have a lot more early upfront damage, so he wants that pressure in the early game.
Ignite teleport is some Akali shenanigans.
It is. And I feel like as well, you know, the point about the Tristana pushing power, LeBlanc suffers the most into matchups that can just shove her in. That's why I think this is like really pertinent in this one, because if you're just, you know, relying on Absorb Life, which was also nerfed, and Fleet Footwork, and you're just out-sustaining her harass, and then just pushing, I think that's how a Tristana would win out in this lane matchup. But Showmaker wants kill potential, that is.
He'll get it. Of course, Flash can be used as an aggressive tool as well, but I like this idea, keeping the teleport for being able to stick around in lane. As DRX is going to get face checked here. Kellen already taking a little bit of damage. You mentioned the level 1 of the Ashe, Teddy, demonstrating that it is pretty powerful. But having a little look here, you can see Showmaker dealing with a pesky minion.
And aiming, taking the cleanse this time, which he didn't have in that last matchup, which he definitely paid for. So, little lesson for that one.
He's pretty new, you know, only 497 games.
After 500,
so
you really should know that. But,
But before that, we can be lenient. You know?
In fairness, he is also into Ashe Leona in this game. There wasn't a Leona in the last one, but definitely doesn't want to sit in CC for an extended period of time. And
it is pretty crazy to think that we basically established that you take cleanse into Ashe, and aiming hadn't quite figured it out yet.
I'm just imagining it just being, I'll dodge it, you know?
Yeah.
He didn't.
He's taking it this time around though, so not going to be in too much trouble.
I like this.
I think it was. Yeah, wasn't it also a Mikhail's buy in that one?
Yes, but the karma wasn't close enough.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I think that's what he's relying on.
So I'd say that's on Kellen.
You know, I think if the Arcane shifts in, Kellen can't Arcane shift after him. But it is what it is. I was just saying, I like what Teddy and Pleta are doing. Planet keeps going for like Qs on a Kellen, and then they get the volley immediately to proc the passive damage. So getting some decent harass down onto Kellen early on. Not really going to be that significant, but they are just trying to look and fish to see if they can find an angle. They do have pressure in this lane, but you can see mid and top, it is definitely D+ favored. Frog is experiencing this matchup. And
yeah.
the only way you can spin it.
It's a little bit of a Cassante situation, as I don't think Lucid was necessarily spotted, but they spotted the fact that the camp was gone, and that is going to give things away. Sponge also here mirroring on the bottom side. We'll see whether Aiming and Kellen are going to be in any trouble. It looks like with the wave in the position that it is, they should be absolutely fine. Some bone plating going to be taken down here, as Aiming just going to stand behind his cow and allow Kellen to soak up the harassment. Looking like things are all just kind of fine and dandy at the minute, with a big CS lead for Showmaker in the mid lane after going through both of his potions.
This is the thing with playing Leona into Alistar, is your AD carry isn't typically going to have enough harass to outdo his sustain and his passive, and you can never really engage on the Alistar when he's remotely close to his turret, because he can just knock you under it, and engaging on Alistar in general, not a great time. Ezreal, obviously.
Oh, the cannon was denied. Really good body block there from Aiming.
And yeah, so Ashe really can't have enough pressure here. You can't engage well onto Ezreal.
Oh, okay, trying to bait him in.
Yeah, he was down in farm, and you can see he had to TP back in.
Big pull.
Heal up. Oh.
Kellen just kind of regretting it, though, because Teddy just stands back. The flash comes out in response. And these minions not doing enough damage, DRX, to really even that one out in any way, shape, or form.
Feels like a mistake. Like, I'm just talking about how, you know, it's very hard for the Leona to do anything. None of the Alistar goes into you.
Yeah.
Kind of just stun him, and Ashe can just auto him. And it's the Aftershock Alistar, not the Phase Rush Alistar, so you can't just, you know, combo, then run away really fast. You're kind of locked in.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Although what he does do is unlock Hex Splash.
Oh,
so that is definitely fantastic. Aiming going to take a bunch of damage before Arcane shifting away, and this wave is in a very dire position.
Looks like DRX probably just want to get the reset though, so
yeah,
just going to push it. Not going to try and freeze it in this situation. And Aiming's going to hang around, try and stay out of vision so he can pick up this wave. Does mean he'll be a little bit behind on the reset timing, but that's not really a concern as an AD carry. If he stops Pletter's recall, that's big though, because you can see Kellen has already made his way towards mid, and the grubs are spawning. So D+ have the advantage on this, and I think ideally Sponge makes a move towards the bot side of the map.
Yeah.
Dragon, or maybe just tries to steal one away and dip.
Well, this is the thing. We were focusing on the bottom side of the map so much. I feel like D+ look the best when they don't care about what happens bot lane almost at all.
Yeah.
It's about the Lucid Showmaker show. It's about Kingen finding the flank angles and getting into these team fights effectively, and then Aiming being able to do some damage in the fight, but isn't really the main character. I think that they've looked the best when they've been able to make those sort of team fights work, and D+ will be able to take all three of the first grubs. DRX not going to lose anyone for it, I guess, just going for a bit of a flip and losing out on the 50-50 there.
It just feels so rough because you've committed all your members up to the top side, you've committed your jungler to come over, and then you don't even get one. D+ starting it early, getting the good reset from Kellen, and able to get exactly what they wanted out of it. And now you can see DRX are moving down towards the Dragon, but D+, you know, they could contest this if they want to.
Yeah, you can see Lucid is down there on his Krug camp now.
I think DRX aren't even confident enough to start it. They might just take the scuttle and back away, which gives even more ample time for D+ to ready up before this Dragon. Ping's actually coming out.
Yeah, Sponge moves on over. He's going to start this one up. There's decent vision. Traps down as well, as you can see. That control ward is going to see exactly what's going on. Sponge taking a fair bit of damage from the Dragon in the meantime, but this wave is going to get shoved in. So DRX with the control that they're looking for here in the bottom lane. And it looks like with Tristana being able to get a bit of a shove, they are just going to give up the first Dragon on the side of D+. Frog versus Kingen is still looking pretty king. Up here.
Both solo lane matchups, pretty sizable CS advantages for D+, which isn't too big of a surprise in top lane. But yeah, who's having a bit of a tough time, has already gone. No Magic Mantle Cole refillable is just, let me farm please. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Stop bully.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that. It's Showmaker, of course. Hasn't used his Ignite yet. Looking forward to seeing when he's actually going to use that to play aggressively. That's sort of the fun part of
supposed to just
his
walk
adaptation.
in lane and immediately ignite them.
Right? You got to get that 5 AD and AP, man. Do you miss masteries?
A bit.
I do sometimes.
I also miss runes because you can make really goofy rune pages. Like, I remember I saved up so I could buy Magic Pen in every slot, and I'd run that on Tom Kench, and you walk up in lane and just tongue lash them for like 100 damage level.
Well, Arrow is going to come down, but Kellen is going to tank it up. I think he's still just really dead. He's just sort of stunned forever as Pleta actually using that Shield of Daybreak exactly when he needed to. And that is just a free stake in the bottom lane.
Yep, well, we do see D+ trying to make a cross-map play on the top lane. Frog a bit low, but Sponge is there to cover. DRX, though, you know, the bot lane, we always talk about being the shining light, and they make a positive play, punishing Kellen there.
Well, Yahoo now just going to take a bit of damage from the distortion, and then trains back very nicely with the explosive charge. Sponge coming on over is going to get stabbed by Lucid. Happy birthday. And then we'll just back off. So Teddy sticks around for quite some time. Kellen back in the lane now. And aiming at least staying within touching distance of the CS. But it's still definitely a big positive play for DRX, just showing that this bottom lane is still absolutely deserving of respect.
Yeah, and I love the layering of CC. Kellen basically just doesn't get to play the game.
Yep, not a lot of moving. Sponge is down here once again. Ulti now in hand from Kellen, but has to immediately be used. As Sponge just slinks back off into the fog of war. You've got a rotation down from Yehu as well. He's like, oh, I heard that cowbell.
Wasn't much chance of him getting killed there. I think the thing to note is Kellen, before he died in this game, his flash was about 20 seconds, 15 seconds till it was up. So the timing, DRX was perfect on that one to punish him. Now with his flash back up and obviously burning the ult, they get that, which is nice, but they didn't really have a chance at a kill. But it'll take that resource away from him in case he does step up again. And you can see bot side of the map doing pretty good. Yahoo will be a little bit behind after this wave is picked up by Showmaker. But overall, game pretty even, and that first blood has given the edge over to DRX.
Yeah, really nicely done. I think mid-game skirmishes are where DRX needs to be the most careful, but that hasn't happened yet. So we're gonna give them some gold stars.
That's future DRX's problem.
Exactly. Present DRX looking fantastic. As Sponge hanging around, looking to try and see whether DK wanna try for more of these.
Could damage towers. That would be the play.
Well, there's going to be some grubs taken. That's going to help with damaging towers as well.
Yeah, hopefully should be able to get these. Remember, if D+ get one more grub, they get the one mini grub spawning. So them stealing one would be a pretty big deal, but looks like they're not going to be allowed to get close. DRX move their strong bot lane up to mid just to make sure they have as much power possible. And when D+ try and continue pressure bot, Yahoo will TP in. This is a good move, honestly, from DRX to secure the grubs and not give any chance for recourse from D+.
Not a lot of options. So D+ still on the back foot. DRX 300 gold in the lead. But it's more about sort of the control that they've picked up and the fact that these lanes are looking like they are starting to stabilize outside of, I guess, Frog versus Kingen, which is seemingly getting worse and worse. It's not a fun time.
Yeah, I think
Zanar, when he hits Trinity Force, is going to be even more scary.
A lot of matchups with K'Sante are like, man, this is rough, but I'm K'Sante. Eventually, I'll just do K'Sante things, and it doesn't feel great being on the receiving end, but Frog is just thinking about that moment when he gets into team fights, and he can do the thing where he like drags someone through a wall and one-shots them.
Yep. Just balanced champion things. Absolutely fantastic. Right now, taking a beating. And we can feel the catharsis, and especially, I mean, we have the man himself, you know, the guy that came up with the entire copy pasta. So thankfully, you know, Showmaker hasn't needed to be too worried about it for now, but it might be the case later on. He's got himself his cool green gun, though, the Hextech Ludens gun.
Yeah. A lot of burst on that item. And I feel like, you know, with the Ezreal and the play pattern we've seen where the Ezreal will set up mid on 2 items and just constantly push people out, you can combine that with LeBlanc to really cause an issue when setting up for objectives. The amount of poke available will be so hard to deal with. There is Sponge on the Nidalee to mitigate that a bit. The healing will help, but not always going to be enough.
Yeah. Sponge is able to do a lot of damage to Kellen, though. We saw that demonstrated with that spear. We do have full information as to what's going on. Second Dragon up and available. Lucid just poking his head in, slinking around in the mist. Showmaker going to come down, and it looks like DK want to be able to take this Dragon. So far doing a fair bit of damage to it already. With some control of the Banana Brush, we know that that is the most important thing. And Trinity Force is now completed for King, and teleport at the ready. A dangerous time for DRX.
Yeah, Frog doesn't have TP. I think they just let this go. I think this is the correct move. It's just a second Dragon. It is a Cloud Soul.
Oh,
after
baby.
giving up the Dragon, they regret it now, knowing it's a Cloud Soul.
Oh, you absolutely would. Or you think about it with a glass half full, and that is now you have the opportunity for more Cloud Drakes.
Oh, there you go.
You know, maybe DRX are sad that they didn't give it up so they could have 4.
They'd be living the dream then.
Yeah, that would be optimal.
But yeah,
that's fine.
Think so far, not too much action in this game, but I think DRX making some correct decisions, which, I mean, typically the early games have been good. It's more getting the mid game where it's a problem, but it is still good to see.
All right, let's see whether we can do a bit of a nod delivery here as Frog moving up. I imagine King has kind of smelt something, and Sponge going to turn up on top of that control ward, and it looks like Shelly is going to be next thing on the menu. 4 members of DRX moving their way down. That is a high-value statue going to be thrown towards DRX, and the True Shot Barrage is also really good for the added damage. Teddy going to move around as well. 5 members of DRX here towards the north. As D+, let's see whether they win this 50-50. So much poke coming in. Solar Flare going completely wide. And Frog going to get knocked up. The arrow is avoided. Frog's burning down. Sponge as well takes a boomerang to the back of the head. And that is going to be the Rift Herald secured. Boomerang connects. Buster Shot has to be used. But now Showmaker wanted to move forward with impunity. And DRX just not really able to pull the trigger in that fight. As, all right, aiming doesn't land the W, and therefore we'll just get the heck away from Teddy.
Yeah, not a great setup for DRX. So we're kind of all corralled in, taking the heavy harass from the side of D+, and then eventually like, okay, we need to do something, throw out the engage tools, ult from Pleta whiffs, ult from Teddy whiffs, and then they're like, okay, we have nothing. Nothing in the tank, and they have to back away. And I think it's just a hard situation to be in, because you can see they're all kind of corralled next to the wall there, and Showmaker keeps popping over and poking, aiming's landing, the Mystic shots, and then they throw out the engage tools, and Frog gets chunked, and they just know there's no way they can contest this. I think, honestly, all standing in the same spot, coming from the same direction is not how you need to approach with this composition. I think Frog finding a good flank angle would make such a massive difference, or maybe Pleta hunting for a better angle to engage from. But when you see where the Leona is, and you're just throwing an ult out, like, without any setup, or like an E flash or something, it's not that hard to dodge.
No, and I also think that that was probably optimal positioning for Showmaker as well, being able to just stand over a wall with a control ward there, knowing that there's nothing that they can do to stop you from just sort of distorting in. Kingen now going to get speared here as Sponge comes in. Good flash. Solar Flare still going to get the stun, and Kingen is very much going to die. Pounce comes forward, and Sponge going to collect his happy birthday kill. It's going to be responded with an outer turret being taken down here in this mid lane, but the tower does also fall in bot, and I believe that was first turret blood being picked up by DRX as well, as Tristana able to race Shelly. This is some drifting, as even the Rift Scuttler is going to be taken.
It was still Rift action there.
Yeah, it was a very strange one, wasn't it? True Shot Barrage is going to stop Teddy's back, and Shelly is just going to sort of die as Frog is up here. Yahoo just looking for even more, and I'm feeling like this is the Ziggs version of Tristana, where you sort of just go to where there are turret and kill turret.
Yeah, but you see Lucid shows up to stop them from pushing the tower, but like, oh.
Owie.
I was going to say that allows maybe Teddy to pressure mid, but instead they're moving up here, and he will arrow the minions.
That was a cool arrow. As Teddy also, shout out to Beryl. Teddy using his skin here, of course, the DRX flavored skin. Very, very cool. And that means the arrow was kind of dragon-like and is now soaring around Runeterra as like an ethereal, enchanted crystal dragon. Which is kind of dope. This is King and Dying.
And I assume his hop was on cooldown here, but flashes the E flash from Pleta, but that leaves him lined up for the ult. Just good follow-up there. And he actually had a CS bounty at the time.
Oh, true.
It was 450 gold for Sponge. A decent reward there for the Nidalee. And when we get into these poke wars between the LeBlanc and the Ezreal, it's going to be the Nidalee kind of doing so much work on the other side, not only healing people, but also trying to get some poke in return. So Sponge getting gold, definitely a good thing for DRX.
Certainly is. Just a bit of an update as well. I thought it was a statue. It was a fossil that Kingen throws around. So he can throw penguins, throw houses, and now he can throw fossils.
Is there anything he can't throw?
Well, I don't know. What is the thing that isn't a penguin, a house, or a fossil?
I feel like those are the
An apple. He probably can't throw an apple. Throws boomerangs.
Oh, yes.
As Teddy, he's throwing a boomerang at Ash. And Teddy going to flash over the wall, and Lucid is just going to break his heart. That is going to be a kill. First one for D+, actually coming pretty late into this game, but it's a pretty effective one as well. It's Kingen moving back towards that top lane. Oh, maybe not that effective. I guess there are quite a few members of DRX here towards the top side, but Showmaker in the bot lane will be able to get a lot of work done to this turret.
Yeah, I think Teddy either had to flash early or not flash at all there. Against the Viego, he's always going to be able to follow with ult, so I think a bit of a misplay there and a summoner burn for no real gain. DRX now setting up at the top lane, potentially looking to punish Kingen again and get this tower. He is mini not, has no flash.
Well, he does at least have a turret for now. Kellen's moving in. Boomerang connects onto Sponge. He's going to pounce his way out, but D+ just going to keep their heads in it. They're going to take down this dragon. That is going to be cloud number 1. Bit of extra movement as Kingen hopping in, looking for Sponge, gets the speed up from the hyper proc and is just going to back away. And DRX not really making too much ground towards the top side as we're going to check this one out one more time.
Yeah, just great ward setup, catches Teddy rotating, and I think once the stun hits from Lucid, you're dead. You know he can just ult to follow you. Flash ends up a little bit wasted. Either flash early to get away from the Gnar or just accept your fate.
Yeah.
Is the play there. And aiming 324 stacks on the Manamune, he is close to that big 2-item spike from Ezreal we always like to talk about. That is the point, especially with Showmaker nearly finished his second item, where D+ really hits their stride and the game becomes a lot more difficult to play.
Yeah, if they have Shadow Flame and Mirror Mana, that is gigantic as far as the extra spikiness is concerned. Yahoo now underneath the turret, and being underneath his own turret is not what a Tristana wants. They want to be underneath everybody else's turrets and killing those. But gonna have to be playing a little bit defensive. 30 CS down as well. All of that extra time that Showmaker got in the bottom lane, where Yahoo is just trying his very best to get the outer turret top. That has really extended that gap as far as the mid lane farm.
Not often you see a LeBlanc being the highest farm in the game. Typically a champion that's hard to farm on. They did make some changes to make that easier for her, but I feel like obviously LeBlanc is a champion that needs to kind of have momentum in a game. But even in the late game, if LeBlanc is fed his farm, it's so scary,
Oh, yeah.
A champion who has that many items, that much mobility, is so hard to deal with, and it's going to be the Horizon focus.
Yeah, so, and I was a bit, like, it wasn't the right build path, so I was about to, correct myself and be like, Atlas, you're an idiot. But I didn't have to, because Showmaker is going to show us here by purchasing the Horizon focus. I watched a video on LeBlanc and, doing the math, or I read a tweet or something like that, talking about Horizon focus. Apparently it is, just the optimal item to build, from what I heard. But I'm not entirely sure.
Fair enough. It's also kind of easy to proc, even if you're close up. You can kind of distortion and snap back while the Q's firing to get it above that range, to proc the passive effect.
Yeah. Well, let's see whether he can proc it, as his turret is just going to explode. Looks like no is going to be the answer. It's aiming, arcane shifting forward. We've seen that one before. Hit by the arrow. There's the cleanse, baby. That's all we're talking about. Kellen going to take a spear to the back of the head.
That is an arcane shift forward you can only do if you have cleanse, I'll tell you that much.
Yep, and so he can't do it for an extended period of time now because the cleanse was no.
Try and stop him.
Yeah. Well, headbutt pulp onto Pleta, who is just going to return the favor with a stun. Not sure about this one. He has been ignited. There is the ulti. Just Kellen biding his time, waiting for an opportunity. It's Teddy. Oh no, Lucid, his worst nightmare, is going to land on him once again. True Shot Barrage only going to hit onto Frog, but they have them right where they want them. He tries to mitigate the CC, throws them over. That all-out was so sick, but the Pulverize is even better from Kellen. The double kill comes in now from Showmaker. He does immediately die thereafter, but I still think an absolutely sick play from D+ and a sick play from DRX.
That Frog just completely saved the passage of play. I thought that was going to be Baron for D+. I was convinced, okay, this is probably going to be game over. They aggress on a Kellen, they throw the Ignite down to try and burn through the ult, but it's still hard to really get the damage down. This is where Teddy's feeling the pain from the lack of flash that he been earlier, not able to get out of this situation, he's caught again. And then here, it looks so rough, you know, the poke connects, they're trying to disengage. Kingen is also approaching Mega, and then Frog with the...
What even? How did that even work like that? What?
It just does, okay? It's just K'Sante things. Kills the Gnaw, and then the ensuing fight, Yehu gets a lot of value, and it ends up...
Was that was spectator? That had to be spectator bug,
like,
right?
It's a weird thing with his ult, where when he casts it, you know, if you jump, if you dash or whatever, it's like an auto. It's like once it's locked on, it's locked on.
Yeah.
You can flash away, but you're still getting dragged, and it ends up looking really weird. But just a lot of abilities interacting with K'Sante. It looked very goofy, but that is how it's intended. That's how we've seen it work before. Just that was a very egregious example. Oh, arrow comes.
Oh, okay, aiming. The Arcane shifted sideways, not forward. As Kellen not going to be so lucky. There's a headbutt back. Kellen still down to 50%. Pleta is just eradicated though, and Kingen is right in there. He is just going to get taken down. Kind of a freebie. Yep, still 1-for-1, I guess. Teddy, oh my goodness. Okay, that was almost just a one-shot.
Need the healing from Sponge to come in and the Honey Fruit. It's still a good trade for DRX overall because Kellen is so low and Kingen is dead. But Kellen is looking for a flank angle.
Yeah, and Yehu actually just standing his ground. The Buster Shot does come in. He's almost just dead, but he is going to survive, at least for now. Still, DRX cannot fight, and that is going to be Soul Point going over to D+. Showmaker really taking matters into his own hands. True Shot Barrage is going to hit Teddy. Not Yehu, who backed at the right spot.
And I feel like Showmaker is so hard to deal with right now. They don't have an easy answer. You can see Yehu try to pump autos into him in the fight, but not enough. So we see in this situation, the first initial trade actually ends up pretty favorable for DRX because they essentially burn a lot of Kellen's health and his ultimate, and also get this free kill onto Kingen, who TP'd to the not best spot. So
yeah, that was
right
not
here,
an optimal TP.
This is good for DRX, but we don't get time to ruminate on when it turned bad, because it looks like we're setting up for the Baron.
Yeah, we've got Showmaker in a side lane with Teleport. Yehu is down there as well. Neither of them have Flash, and I know that Showmaker doesn't have Flash because he didn't take it at all from the beginning. But Yehu's is down for the moment. He's actually been able to catch back up pretty well. Honestly, he's now ahead in farm by about 10, spending a little bit of extra time in the side lane. Yeah, very close to a death cap though for Showmaker, and that is going to be a big spike. Talking about spikes, of course, Aiming does have his now secured, as well as a cheeky brutalizer on top as Kingen. All right, he's just gonna find Sponge and destroy him. That's his birthday present right there.
Beautiful flank angle comes in. The hidden Gnaw ends up catching out the Nidalee, and now no jungler. DRX have to try and approach this and find a good fight.
Kingen just jumped over a wall and won the game, basically.
Yep.
That was pretty impressive. Okay. Let's see whether DRX can do anything about this. They don't really want to give it away for free. Xenoblade going to go wide. The arrow is going to be absorbed by the cow, who just presses the I don't care button. They take themselves a Baron. Kellen goes down relatively low. Kingen does have that Mega Gnaw relatively available. Another great all-out here from Frog, and that is a very dead Lucid. But that is the only thing that they get. The Baron's still going over to D+. I think they're still pretty happy.
Got a lot of K'Sante interactions this game. Lucid not learning from the last one and tries to flash when he's already been ulted and ends up getting caught anyway. Now DRX might be able to get this second tower here. They have a lot of tower taking pressure.
Yeah, True Shot Barrage does do a lot of damage to Teddy. You can see Showmaker, he really wants it. He's like, if I had a death cap, I would definitely go in. But
you know, all things considered, that they just lost their jungler and immediately lost Baron. DRX coming out of it pretty good. You can see the Baron power play about even, but the Baron buff still available for D+, and just great timing, but I feel like this also should have been conveyed because Kingen had to get Mega off the back of this. You'd think Frog maybe would have been aware of that. And then this play, you know, they don't really have, it's hard to hit Showmaker, he's so mobile. They just throw a couple of engage ults on a Kellen, start to shred him down. But then we see Lucid ends up getting caught out by Frog here. He makes the same mistake. He's like, okay, I'll just flash this ult. Nope.
Yeah. It was just a great collect, though, as well, from Frog. You have to say, this guy's K'Sante has looked absolutely fantastic.
He's had a good game, even if the game hasn't completely gone smoothly for DRX. The Baron power play is still in the negative. They're about even in gold. They are down in Dragons, but they're keeping the hopes alive.
Well, Kellen is going to absorb even more CC. As he looks to try and turn it, but gets the flash out from Pledder instead. He has to flash immediately away. The Ignite ticking, ticking, ticking. And the bomb is just going to take the kill. Atlas, you silly boy, you've got to stay a little bit more observant. Missed that one as the Boomerang going to fly over the top as well. D+ still looking for it, but now they are down a member. And this Baron is not going to be doing too much. It's already a negative 700 as Pledder going to get poked out. Frog dashes away from Lucid. And Kingen looking to try and force something here. And Showmaker dashes in, finds Frog, but otherwise not too much. Some health bars getting chunked down. Teddy's still at full health though, that is a big deal. Frog absorbing, 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 and won't be able to do that one forever as now Showmaker looking for that. Oh! Where'd he go? There goes, I don't know. That was that death cap he was waiting for, and worked pretty well.
He just put Yahoo into the death cap, I guess, and made it disappear.
Yeah, aren't you supposed to take things out of the witch's hat?
Well,
or
he has to put them in first to take them out later.
Ah, got it. Wow, that was a lot of damage.
Yep, and Yahoo, I mean, you could say that he could flash, but I don't think he expected to get one shot there. This LeBlanc is very strong right now. A massive issue for DRX to deal with. And it's also a solo AP LeBlanc, so it feels bad itemizing MR. Yeah, don't worry.
All right. Okay.
She looked very shocked, as shocked as I felt.
Yeah, no, I sort of didn't. And you see as well, he's like, oh, which target, which target? That one is at the most health. I'll kill that.
Yeah.
And he just pressed his buttons and they died.
And now setting up for Cloud Soul. Already it feels like DRX have had some struggles engaging on a D+, a lot of mobile targets. If they get that Cloud Soul, that 20% permanent movement speed, it will become so much more difficult. So not wanting to give this one up. They're setting up.
Yeah.
The poke is starting to connect.
And I feel like in these fights, DRX have actually looked a little bit better. It's playing the map that has been pretty hard. True Shot Barrage is going to fly over. Decent mitigation, but now Sponge kind of out of the fight. Another all-out opportunity as they get rid of the cow. But starting the fight without Kellen, that has been the way. They steal it, but that's a gigantic gnaw from Kingen. Frog going to be taken out first. Pledder going to be second on the menu. A double kill for aiming as now Yahoo's trying to keep them busy, but he takes a fossil to the face and is turned into one himself. All right, Lucid just trying to be Cassante. This is going to be his answer, trying to break the hearts of two at once, and he's going to be able to get the first on his birthday, and it's a double to come down for Lucid. There's an ace, and they were pretty mad that they had their Cloud Soul taken away from them, and their answer to it might just be winning the game.
And it ends up being a Dragon secured for DRX, but the engage from Kingen wins them the fight. Beautiful play there, and D+ should just be able to close it out. The spawn time is way too long. Pledder, you can't defend this solo, especially with reinforcements coming in.
Oh man, I tell you what, Kingen, when he's on, he is so incredibly on. Doesn't quite find that ulti, but that doesn't matter because this Nexus is dead. First, he finds the Baron, then he finds the game-winning team fight around the Drake. Gorgeous stuff from the top laner of D+. Their top side really performing well in this game.
Yep, I mean, both solo laners having a huge performance on this one.
Yeah, Frog and Kingen kind of the matchup of the series so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think Frog, honestly, you know, we've been asking, is there a solution to the DRX problem? Even though they didn't win this game, I think Frog definitely looked like a positive for them.
Absolutely. Now you have to make the difficult decision of who picks up the POG. Is it the guy that makes Tristana's disappear? Or is it the cool guy that transforms into other champions? Or is it the Gnar that did those couple of things that were really good?
It's a tough one, and you'll have to find out what is later.
I didn't look. Like I can theoretically just look over and see what you wrote down, but I didn't see
aiming, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume it was gonna.
He did the most damage, so why wouldn't I?
I mean, that is the boom boom
cast are in sync.
Yeah,
on that one.
I think you and VNcast are probably just going to be able to push it over the line, and Aiming should be able to pick that one up. He's probably going to be the Gold King as well, because I think he made a lot of money in that game as well. Kellen having a little bit of a rough time, but he absorbed pressure.
Yep.
Quite well. So, congratulations to D+, moving 1-0 in the series, but it's a best of 3. It's time for us to go to a short break. Then we'll have the space to break it down, and then we will have game number 2. See you there.
정면에 있어.
내가 용환으로 돌아갈게.
나 정면에 있어.
얘네 버스
나
안
용환으로 돌아갈게.
나 산타부터 볼 생각할게 나 이거.
이제 레오나. 레오나.
야 니달리 필이야.
람람.
야 큰한테. 아 용치야.
산타 요거. 야나 이거 각 좋고 들어오면.
야 니달.
야 보자.
야 큰한테.
야 레오나.
야 펜타?
애쉬. 야 트리 봐줘. 트리 높을. 야 트리 봐줘.
트리
점프
봐줄게.
없다. 점프 없다.
야나 미드 텔 탈게.
애쉬 높을. 미드라인.
아. 나 응원을 잡으러 감.
설마 루시드 설마.
한입.
No.
Between them, I think it's completely fair that Showmaker got it, but I think I'm glad me and Wolf gave the shout out to Kingen for those big knob.
Oh, me too. I would have been right there with you. I would have been wrong alongside you, and I would have loved every second of it.
It's not all about who got the POG. You know, sometimes you want people to get shout out. You don't need it to be a 12 out of 12.
True.
9 out of 12 is enough.
That's true. Sometimes you throw a donkey in there and see what happens. As the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin both going to be taken away this time around. DRX not wanting to deal with any of that. As the Renekton, relatively obvious ban here. I imagine that Rumble probably going to need to be a ban on the red side, but Frog, I'm not sure about how much he wants to be, you know, a Yordle in a mech in this game. Yordle in a plane, something that Yehu does want to be, and is going to be taken away. The Vi, I just feel like Lucid is a player that, from the very inception of his time in the LCK, he has always just demanded 2 bans. Like, every time.
I mean, people have been pretty focused on banning him out, knowing what he can do. Especially, he said himself he's the best Vi in the LCK, and based on his performances,
yeah,
it's hard to argue. Ezreal will be secured for Teddy, though. I think that's a big pick to get, and obviously, D+ opt for the Rumble ban, respecting that. Sejuani is potentially on the cards. We kind of talked earlier how not necessarily the pick we want to see Lucid on, but I think in this situation, when you've given over the Ezreal, you might just have to pick it up. We'll see if they end up going in that direction.
Yeah, Sejuani Ashe is a pretty comfy rotation.
You know, I've said this a lot. I think aiming on his champions works really well.
He used to be an Ashe guy.
He
really did.
I feel like he's better on champions with mobility, but we'll see what he can do.
Are you saying that sometimes he finds himself in awkward positions?
At least on Ashe, you can't arcane shift in, you know?
But you also can't arcane shift out.
Very true.
So you have to be careful about how you use walk, which is a powerful ability.
Oh, we get the Maokai Lucian coming in.
Full Freljord.
One thing to say as well. Oh, I was going to say.
Oh, okay. This is a big one.
They have the potential to counterpick for support for D+. They could take it here, but I feel like you can just save it till 5 pick. And DRX might be forced to ban, like, Renata Braum if it goes through the next phase. But it looks like they won't even give it a chance. And Kellen's Renata, I feel like sometimes players just have those picks where you're like, okay, I mean, they've been having a good season, but on this, they're just elevated so much higher. And I think Kellen really has been one of the best Renata players in the league.
Yeah, for like 2 years or something like that. He has been extraordinarily good on this champion. I think, you know, Carrier has had some pop-off games on it as well, but I just do think that I associate Renata with Kellen and how well he plays.
And I think the bans get a bit different here because you ban the Karma, which can offer a lot of harass. But you might also opt to ban like the Blitzcrank, which is what we've typically seen work into Renata, and especially Ashe Renata. I think a Blitzcrank specifically would be very good into that. And if DRX go towards Leona, you're going to have a terrible time in lane.
I'd like to see it. We'll see whether the Crank does get a little bit of a look in here. I'd like to see it picked, personally, because I think it's just fun. As Talia going to be taken away from Showmaker, a little bit more flexibility on the DRX side as far as taking away some of the favorites for D+ here. It might even just be a Narban to come through as well. We'll see who gets counterpick. I kind of want it to be Showmaker because when he gets counterpick, he picks weird stuff. Yeah. And I like that. Maybe we'll get a Yasuo.
I feel like he probably just slammed Gnar for Kingen, and he did pretty good
Slam
last game.
No. Slam Cannon so that then we can get Yasuo.
Okay, you know, you're cooking.
Am I getting a little bit too excited about the Yasuo pick?
Perhaps. TF can get banned out. I think they're predicting, well, not only are they trying to make sure that Yehu has a good matchup, but also predicting that it's going to be AP mid laner for D+. I think most teams would take mid here and top counter pick, but as you said, I could see the argument for taking the Gnar here. But it looks like they will just go for something pretty standard potentially in the Azir. Remember, Showmaker, one of the first players to really dive into the tank Azir last split, which has been gaining popularity again. So the potential to do it here, and I think especially into a Lucian matchup, you want to feel tanky against him.
Yeah, and I think he's going to comfortably do it. I'm a bit sad. I wanted the Yasuo, but it's not going to happen. Oh, unless a Nara is picked, because guess what the character Nara is? Or one of them. It could theoretically be a Yasuo, but I don't know about it. I don't know why I'm obsessed with Yasuo today. It's okay. That's going to be locked in.
No, the two picks I actually think that would be good here is either Blitzcrank or Bard. Bard really good into a mobile picks.
Oh, that's a fun one with Ezreal too, yeah.
Yeah, also just Blitzcrank for the grabbing. I do not like the Braum here. I think you're going to have a really rough time in lane if you go for this.
That's, Alistar could be the
Not
other
much better.
option. Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't found the crank. Where to crank? Oh, Pletter.
This is such a losing level 1. I just don't see how you're really going to overcome that. This has to be a lane swap. I'm just going to flat out say it. DRX need to swap lanes. If you walk in a lane with an Alistar against Renata Ashe, the game is over before you even touch a minion. So I hope they have that in their wheelhouse and ready to bring it out.
Oh.
And the buffed Jace, it got 5 extra base damage and 5% AD on the Q, which doesn't sound like much, but when you amp that with the gate and the fact it already does crazy damage, Jace buff feeling significant.
Yeah.
And when you already have a composition with a lot of counter engage in the Renata, in the Azir, this Jace poke might be very hard to deal with for DRX. So
I actually love adding a bunch of extra range as well to a draft like this because they're relying purely on arrows and prisons as their engage, and they would love it if DRX were forced to engage into them. And so you add that extra threat of the poke, and that is really going to help them out when they're setting up for objectives. I love the Jace pickup here, as we are going to have coaches shake hands or at least bow to one another. We don't do the shake hands thing anymore. I kind of miss it personally, but that's okay.
you can shake hands if you want.
The D+.
I love how you just like that completely.
Yeah, no, I'm just not even interested. I really like the Jace sort of like ace in the hole that they had towards the end there. I actually really like it.
It's actually Caitlyn who has the ace in the
hole. Oh, I'm
both
really
from
messing
Arcane.
up today.
They are both from Arcane, so yeah, I can excuse it.
Did you see the little teaser with Heimerdinger being extremely nimble?
Yes, this is.
That is so much.
Is that long? This is the.
That's his manifesto.
Those are the terms and conditions that you don't read.
Ah, the Cassante terms and conditions.
That's a Felios passive.
Ah, okay. That's a small part of his kit. Yeah. Yeah, got it. All right, Showmaker back on the Azir once again. We'll see whether it is going to be the full tank variety. Some Freljordian support here as well. Kellen's Renata, a lot of power here for D+. We'll see whether DRX can get through it as we jump into the Rift for game number 2.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
All right, D+ fans still in full voice here today. We'll see whether DRX can silence them for the first time in 2 years. If they do manage to come back in this series, it would be monumental for this team. Historic, in fact, because it's been a really long time since they've been able to win.
Yep, they saw aiming and Kellen bot lane. Recall has come through. DRX are going for the lane swap. Absolutely the right decision. It is unplayable.
Yeah.
Have straight bot lane 2v2. This is going to result in D+ having a bit of an advantage in terms of plates, just because of the fortification change. So they'll be a little bit ahead in gold, but it is so worth because you're not going to get zoned out of like 3 waves of XP and gold.
Well, Kingen actually looking to pressure in.
Oh, if he doesn't know.
Okay, yeah, well, they're all up here. He is going to have to take Acceleration Gate early, but there is a cold flash. And Kingen is, I mean, he does have his flash available. Doesn't actually have to use it. That is kind of crazy. Might have to burn Teleport if he does want to get that health bar back.
But now Lucid could be in trouble.
Yeah, Sponge moving on over here as well. Lucid does manage to at least get his red buff. As Frog is coming over. This is some yakety sacks now. Kingen also going to be discovered by a tree.
This is the thing, is that even though Kingen lives and keeps his flash, he's so low that he can't really help out Lucid. And Lucid, not being aware of the lane swap in advance, he's unfortunately on the side of the jungle you definitely don't want to be on. So now he has to take this long trek towards his bot side and is in danger of being choked out a little bit.
Yeah, Showmaker as well. With the fact that there is so much pressure from DRX towards the top side, he's going to get shoved in by Yehu, who does have a really good position in the lane. First time that he's played it so far as well, as this full minion wave is going to die to the turret, but the same thing's going to happen on the top side as DRX look to shove this in.
Top. We'll see if DRX get enough. They don't get enough experience for Platter to hit level 2. That's actually big, but I still don't think Kingen can walk up.
Yeah, he's just going to be waiting in this brush. Not sure about that one, as Yahoo just moving underneath the turret here, dashing forward. There is, Yahoo's going to go down. The flash out, and Showmaker stays alive. Oh, that is a big mistake on the DRX side. It looked like he was a sitting pigeon.
Such a rough play to make, because you've thrown away that massive advantage you have in lane. He gets the shield from the shifting sands, and Lucian, once you've used your abilities, your just auto attacks are so lackluster.
Yeah. Kellen moving on over here as Kingen getting underneath the turret. That is big. He just wants these minions. And now 3 members of DRX getting up here. There is the hammer back as Pleta is tanking this turret for a really long time. But he is going to survive. Teddy now in trouble. The ramp up of the turret damage is massive. And DRX going to have to back away with nothing to show for it.
Good navigation there. Oh, but Kellen might be stepping up too far. Does see Pleta.
Yeah, shakes his hand. Gonna make some money there as well, as you can see. Frog turns up towards the bottom side. Okay, this is a weird situation. You've got Jace Renata laning into the Ezreal Alistar, as now, Ashe versus Gnar in the bottom lane.
The thing is, Frog's level 2 and aiming is level 4, so not a fantastic spot to be in. And they're keeping these lanes for now.
Yeah, it looks like D+ are almost just okay with it.
I think D+ are. I think DRX should be the ones considering a switch back.
Yeah. All right, Lucid going to be able to secure the Rift Scuttler. Also gives a good old thumbs up. Love to see that. And Teddy and Pleta will be able to clear out this wave, but this has not gone the way that they intended it to.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, particularly what happened mid, but I think this is the point where you'd want to swap back. You've navigated, you've avoided the level 1 interactions, which are so unfavorable. Now you should be finding a way to...
Owie. Owie.
That's the flash.
Owie. Big owie. That's a cancelled auto. There's the flash. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, I mean, you needed to switch back sooner, and this... Yeah, credit to Showmaker, but also Yahoo, you did not need to make this play. Goes for the kill, and you can see Q, double auto, gets the passive procs twice, and then he's just auto.
Yeah.
Auto. It's so slow if you don't get the kill.
What was that, is what he said.
감사합니다.
And he just said, thanks for saving my lane.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you look at the CS discrepancy mid, it's going terribly, but that kill is, it could have been so much worse, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yahoo definitely giving him a lifeline in this one, which I'm sure he will regret. And now the takeaway is aiming's ahead in XP compared to Teddy. And we can see a CS discrepancy top. Ultimately, being down in gold as a result of a lane swap isn't that bad. The whole point of a lane swap is you're supposed to like mitigate the losing lanes so that you don't fall behind in XP. But with the way it's played out, DRX didn't manage to do that. So they're down in gold and XP. Not really how you want it to come out.
Yeah, we're going to say that this is a negative scenario as Pleta gets his hand shook, or his hoof shook. Is it hoof shake? When it's into an Alistar? I'm not entirely sure. As Yahoo, it's going to get discovered by Lucid. Will get permanently frosted as he looks to try and get over the wall. Even the Dragon getting upset with this Lucian, as he does have to flash out as Showmaker was making his way over. Level 6 now picked up for the Azir as a big minion wave. Now crashing towards his bottom side. D+, I mean, it's going to be hard for DRX to be able to lock down these minions at least. As Showmaker at least does back away, and Lucid going to be distracted by the Dragon. Sponge taking some grubs as well. And so it's just some added pressure here, and a couple of plates picked up by D+ in the bottom lane.
And things are still rough bot lane. You know, obviously the big talking point was the level 1, but it's not easier now. It's just less bad. Aiming level 6 already. There's a cleanse available for Teddy, but Pleta is going to get access to that Unbreakable for a long time. So if he missteps, could be an easy handshake into arrow angle. Gotta be very careful.
Yeah. 1,000 gold is now the resulting lead. Yahoo still at least laning effectively, like you said before. I mean, the CS was still in his favor. That is continuing to be that way. As now Kingen and Frog, I mean, this has always been a great matchup for the Jace. We've seen it was Keen, I believe, that was the only one that's played Jace so far this season here in the LCK. And he made it look very, very good. Kingen has been a bit of a Jace guy himself in the past. His Hawkshot is going to spot Sponge out here in the bottom lane. And yeah, so far we can see that Kingen a couple of waves ahead on the Jace right now. And as the dust is sort of settling after this lane swap, DRX really not psyched about how it's really resulted. As Arrow going to connect onto the level 4 Alistar, who's going to get lit on fire. Does have to flash away. And that is so much pressure here. And we knew that this was going to be a rough time, and it is proving to be so.
Yep, and the XP disadvantage.
Oh, okay, we're looking for the Emperor's Divide. There's the flash, and the Arctic Assault is beautiful. There's that mid-jungle synergy for D+. And that is going to be the second kill for Showmaker. Oh dear, more plates going down. Teddy getting torn to shreds as Kellen has a magnet on these handshakes.
He's just so good in this pick, you know.
He's so polite, man. He just always shakes hands.
Yeah, unlike the coaches, you know, who been shaking hands. Kellen, he's making up for it. Maybe this is why. There's a quota for how many handshakes you can have, and Kellen is the one setting it.
Taking all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, great shuffle back. He knows no flash on Yahoo, and this is the punishment for it. D+ doing a fantastic job of keeping track of that. And making sure to find an opportunity to punish. I feel like so often in the LCK, a flash is burned and then nothing comes from it for the next 5 minutes, but D+ doing a good job of making
that is so cute, by the way. Showmaker, like, has Lucid come and gank his lane, and then Showmaker comes and ganks the jungle.
Yeah.
For Lucid. That's just beautiful.
That's why they're a good pairing, you know? They have each other's back.
It's wonderful. Another thing that was wonderful as well is looking at Showmaker's name underneath Canyons in the POG standings. Feels like we've just gone back to, you know, the last few years where it's just been the two of those sitting on those standings. And of course, they were on the same team. Now, not as in trouble for that one. Not going to be taking each other's POGs. So that's kind of cute. Unless they're playing against one another, in which case the one that wins is going to be taking the POGs. So I guess there's that. Still.
Frog definitely playing cautiously here. Awareness got the Sejuani.
Maybe also kind of regretting his position on the map as well, because not able to move up towards that minion wave. It's kind of just happy feeding.
This kind of feels like DRX saying, look, we don't want to lane anymore. We're kind of done with it. Let's stop laning. And they're now committing top. Kellen once again moving topside to play this defensive cover angle.
Well, Kellen actually having a really good time as there's a flash out from Frog, or a flash in to where his turret is. And DRX trying to do what they can here, wanting to get this extra plate. They should be able to get at least that one. But it looks like Kingen and Kellen very happily just hanging out underneath this turret, able to clear out the minions pretty comfortably as well with these empowered shock blasts. And Showmaker, as a result, is given some spare time in this mid lane, able to catch all the way back up in farm as well. As the Hawkshot sails over, spots out these grubs being taken. And it is 3 grubs already for DRX. The D+ might be able to stop this, as you can see. That is an arrow sailing in. Kingen absorbs it. And 2 grubs is going to be what DK are able to collect for themselves. Sponge able to get those 4. So some mites able to come out here, as Teddy not going to get his hand shook. And Lucid just holding on to this. Sponge wanting to collect a few more, but I feel like it's greedy, especially with the position of D+ and the fact that Frog is in such a rough spot underneath this turret. I think if he was to burn teleport to try and come up to get a theoretical couple of grubs, it would have been a disaster.
Definitely agree with that one. He's already quite far behind, and playing lane against an Ashe. You know, we saw the Callista into Gnar, felt terrible.
Whoa,
this isn't as bad, but not much better. And yeah, now, Yahoo, too many mistakes. You know, missed too many farm, let Showmaker catch up. Obviously made the mistake with the dive and getting punished. And now, with this Liandry's already finished for Showmaker, he is just getting battered in the lane. He had to just TP back immediately, try and maintain any semblance of pressure.
This is really rough for DRX because I feel like they had the plan. You know, they had the idea, and when you lose because of misexecution on your own part, it feels so much worse, right? Like, you can really feel for Yahoo. Like, that play, that first blood, that's in his head right now. And you can feel it with how he's been playing.
It just fills you with what ifs, you know? What if I just hadn't gone for that? Like, the lane was going good. Imagine how different things would be. And then maybe he would have died after, you know? But you can't really have regrets in this situation. 1-0 down, you definitely can't have regrets. DRX need to focus on the game in front of them. A 3K goal deficit already feels rough. Arrow coming in. This is aiming for Yahoo.
All right, he is going to stop the back. Aiming just saying, no, you're not going home. You're in fact going to stick around for this minion wave. Flash is available, so Showmaker, if he does want to go for an Emperor's Divide onto the Lucian, is probably not going to succeed. But second Dragon to be started up here by D+. And Earth, Wind, and Fire on the table. Could be an option. We'll see.
I was hoping for it.
I think it might be Chemtech time. I think we're due for one.
Yeah. Can't hold it
X-Tech
back
would
for
be
that long.
really fun, though.
X-Tech would be fun. The team who got it.
Yeah, what's it going to be? As Aiming looking for first turret blood as well. And it is going to be Hextech. Okay, there we go. That's
Nice.
much better. Out of the two tech drakes,
Yep.
I think that's probably the better one.
Yep. I love Hex Gates, honestly. So many fun interactions from that.
What's better, Hex Gates or Cinders?
I think I like Cinders more because they feel new, but I think Hex Gates overall I prefer, you know? Like, the Cinders feel like flavor of the month, you know? Like, oh yeah, this is interesting, this is pretty new, even though it's been out longer than a month. But the Hex Gates, man, seeing like the flanks people would pull off with them, seeing all the goofy angles and things, I think they're one of the best things to be added to the game, I'm gonna be honest.
I actually think as well that if you have Alistair, and DRX do, if you catch an enemy team all hex gating at the same time, and then you just get that sick polv, oh man, that's the dream. I think Shock Blast could also be an answer to that as well. There is a lot of telegraphed arrival.
1,000 goal difference just in plates.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. Lucy going to come in. That is going to be the Rift Herald secured by DRX, but the hostile takeover kind of massive. Some teleports coming in, some Hex Gates being taken, and that is Kellen just by himself. Glacial Prison going to connect. The arrow is pretty good there as well, but Frog finds the Gnar. Kingin to the skies, and that's going to be the Azir locking down some kills, and now Aiming is just mowing them down. Teddy trying to cleanse and trying to find some of the moves, but he'll find a double kill and then go down, and Aiming finds himself a 3-0-2.
Yeah, Showmaker and Aiming basically untouched for most of that fight, just able to free fire into the pit, and DRX try to rush down the dragon, and they are forced to pay for it. Kellen with a very bold play with the R flash here to keep DRX interested, and it works because they are fully commit on a Kellen who's in the pit.
Lucid just hex-gating to Narnia for some reason as well. Was very fun.
Cut them off, and then Platter engages the Showmaker to stop Frog from dying before he can turn Mega, but he just dies, Frog just dies, Yahoo can't 1v2 Showmaker and Aiming, and it kind of just feels like those two just walk up the fight, you know? Aiming and Showmaker are like, okay, let's hit this target together, then this one, and now this one.
Oh dear. Kellen and Kingen are actually just lane partners. That's just how it is, I guess. And they are now a gank squad, moving around and destroying everyone. Namely, Yahoo, who is 0-4 now, really having a rough time on this Lucian. I'm going to say it again. It's in his head, man. First Blood really was a rough time.
6,000 gold lead at this point is
that's a big one.
Bit of a rough one.
And like, I think this is a big upgrade to what we saw in game number 1. And we can start having the conversation of which team's looking more informed out of Humble Life Esports and D+. And I think that it's relatively close as Kellen looking for Sponge here. There's definitely a lot of tape to take into account as well. And that is like one of them being that, okay, Arrow going to connect here as Showmaker finds the Emperor's Divide. The twisted advance is decent, but it doesn't really do enough. And now Frog is on the wrong side of this. Oh, actually, Nature's Grasp does end up killing Showmaker because he was underneath the turret, but Frog is also going to die. So we're going to say that that one was probably worth for D+. Oh man, this is starting to look like playing with your food, sort of showing off. D+ really just having some fun with it now.
Yep, they know this game is firmly in their control, and on the back of this win, will set them up nicely for that series against Humble Life Esports. Really going to take a miracle from here for DRX to get back in the game. A 7,000 gold lead, pre-20 minutes.
Lucid has ult. Fleta, okay, there is a culling to come through. That's a defensive ult from Lucid. And Twisted Advance does come on in. Lucid able to get himself over the wall. Hexgate was taken by Aiming, and he's out of there. They have to use some cooldowns, but you'd still take that, I think, as they managed to secure the turret.
Lucid going the protect the president angle there to get Aiming out, but also manages to survive himself. Pretty good moves, and DRX just gonna clear. Actually, look for another pick opportunity. They're just chasing members of D+, trying to find kills, and it feels desperate because that is the state of the game at the moment. It is a desperate state of the game.
It feels desperate because it's desperate.
It is
I
pretty
guess.
desperate, yeah. They are desperate to kill anyone.
And the Drake going to be the next thing on the menu, I think. Let's have a look at this play one more time as Kellen just hex gating into the DRX jungle.
Yep, and Frog unfortunately does the hop in a straight line strategy.
Oh, we've got a little bit more of a fight here. Showmaker is just going to kill a tree.
Yeah. I don't think I need to know what happened lead up to that.
We'll get the replay, don't you worry.
We will, but I don't think... You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see the replay. I can't see how... I want to know how that happened exactly. I want to watch it back, and this time I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, we could pass.
We can pass. We don't need that one.
No,
We can focus on what's happening in the present.
Yep, and that's going to be Lucid giving thumbs up to his teammates as they just destroy this inner turret.
Maybe that's the birthday present for Sponge. They don't show that replay.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good idea. That's respectful on his birthday, and we like that. As Teddy doing the best he can. Shout out to Teddy for picking Pulsefire Ezreal, my personal favorite. And aiming, I don't think has the Secret Service with him this time around. Has to flash to get out of the way.
Oh, unfortunately, Sponge doesn't have flash himself, not able to get in range. Aiming, no cleanse, but able to get out of that one. And, you know, it's an oldie, but split push dash, apparently a thing.
That is a very oldie. And in fact, was it ever a thing? No, I don't. Not sure. Maybe when there were less dashes in the game.
Yeah.
As we do end up seeing it again. And it was arrow into handshake. Ash Renata, everyone.
I don't think any information was really gained from that. That's exactly how I expected it to have happened, and that's exactly how it did. But unfortunate for Sponge, not having a good time on this Maokai. And once again, the strategy seems to be wait for someone on D+ to walk up the side lane, hopefully kill them, don't kill them, repeat.
That is not a strategy that I would attempt to employ again.
Well, obviously, they want to kill, they're hoping next time they do kill them.
So the strategy should be find someone to kill them, and then take objective.
Let's see if it works this time.
Owie. I assume that hurt someone. Oh, never mind. They weren't actually in that part of the brush. They are just going to back away.
It was so scary, they ran away. They were like, no, that could have hit us, you know?
Yeah.
It's like if someone fires a gun and it misses you, but it's nearby, you're still going to run away, right? That's how it feels. If a giant blast of energy...
It's a really small ARAM that they're playing in the bottom lane. That's fun. All right, another arrow going to fly in, and pollution.
Oh, it hit the tower.
It did. Wow. You
tower.
can't. I don't think you can kill that tower.
No. I didn't know that tower was there.
No, I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But now it's just arrows.
Has the tower always been there?
I mean, I assume so. I don't think we've changed the map all that much. Is Handshake going to come on through? There's a Glacial Prison after the setup. Gorgeously done. Unbreakable Will is going to look to try and mitigate it, as Showmaker does take a little bit of damage here. Hasn't actually elected to go for the Tankazir. He has just gone for the fleet footwork. I think not feeling like he was all that comfortable. As aiming is going to demonstrate that they are starting off the Baron, and I don't know whether DRX can do anything about it. Teleport is going to come in, so they are going to attempt to try and fight this off. Nabar position pretty good for... It's just gone.
Yeah, you know, Sponge is like, oh, the Hex Gates were running late, you know.
Yeah.
Couldn't get there in time. Sorry, boss.
Well, Lucid just boosting his way in. Nature's Grass does come down, but there's the hostile takeover. That gets rid of the tree, and Lucid still dashing forward. He's going to be gnawed back. There is the bailout, but it's just not going to happen in time. 1-for-1 trade in the end, as D+ just pushed them out of their mid lane. There are bounties up, ladies and gentlemen. It is over a 10,000 gold lead. And when I said it is over, maybe I could have just left the sentence at that.
It's not looking good. You know, trading the kill, best case scenario out of the situation, but I don't think it's really going to make a difference to D+'s pushing power. They will take the inhib, they will reset, spend all their gold, and they have 2 minutes 12 of Baron, and then about 10 seconds after that, Hextech Soul spawns. So
that is that's fairly good for, you know, getting control of all of these lanes. They just took an inhibitor, and it's feeling pretty great. And Lucid also absolutely feeling himself in this moment. Goes down extraordinarily low, and then just goes in.
Yeah.
he just wants to start fights, and you love to see it.
Yeah, and maybe a bit they pressing a sponge, potentially, giving that one over, but it didn't really change things too much. The Sejuani also not someone who was holding one of these big gold bounties.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see, nope,
Yeah.
gold graph did not change.
No, that's it didn't really take a blip. And now D+ are going to look to take some more turrets here. They are on 7 right now in comparison to the 1 that DRX have been able to pick up. And this is some pretty textbook playing of the map. And I also would hazard to say that they have mapped a lot of the plays.
I think they've done both this game.
Yeah. And, oh god, Showmaker just does so much damage. He's built his Zhonya's now as well. He's an entire full item ahead of his counterpart.
Yeah, you know, I feel like we're so used to big ults from Azir's.
Arrow, splits.
And also just the DPS, you kind of forget how much poke you can just do with just like a soldier Q auto.
Yeah. Yeah, the Conquering Sands just flies in. Shock Blast as well. I don't know whether that's... I mean, he's only a 1-1 and 2, Jace. Hasn't really been a game changer this time around.
He didn't do a crazy amount of damage.
But the poke is definitely still there. And sets up the acceleration gate. Yeah. Okay, Jace is still Jace, as it turns out.
Did they need to buff the Shock Blast damage?
Don't think so. I think Keen already showed us that you don't. I don't think so. And Glacial Prison going to connect onto Sponge. He's going to throw out his ulti as well. There's a little bit more. That's okay. See what else they can find here, but it looks like they are just going to back away, grab themselves a Hextech Soul, and then end the game.
Yep, landing the poke, force them off, and now they can just back off and head towards the dragon. DRX can't leave their base, so I don't see any scenario in which they contest this Dragon Soul, and playing, you're already struggling to get onto the enemy team. If you're playing this game into a Hextech Soul, it's just over. I struggle to see the avenue in.
Yeah.
You know, you can't even rely on aiming, arcane shifting in. He doesn't have that ability.
Teddy can, in theory, but
yeah,
that's not helping DRX. Hextech Soul is going to come on down. It's a 12,000 gold lead and Hextech Soul. Yeah, I don't even think burger flipping is a thing.
Yeah,
in this game.
I feel like the avenue would somehow involve utilization of the fountain laser. I think they need like Frog 5-man ult them into the fountain laser. Is kind of they have,
but that's Teddy.
Power.
Teddy's he's the fountain laser.
I don't think he's doing as much damage as a fountain laser right now.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
He's not quite living up to his name at this point. It is a rough one.
I think he's lived up to his name. Teddies are quite, you know, cuddly.
Oh, okay. The other name is what I was talking about, and instead it turned into Teddy slander.
Oh man.
Oh dear. Well. This is the last inhibitor turret going to be sieged here by D+. Cyrilda's now completed for Kingen, and there it is. Does a lot of damage to Sponge, who's only got health at this point. Oh, got a big zoom out, yeah.
He's got Mega ready. Oh, there's a tower.
Yeah, this is a great Mega timing, as never mind, he's going to auto. He's out. I'm just done. He's like, oh, don't worry, guys, I'll backdoor.
Guys, I have a place to be.
Arrow going to connect there. Oh God! The entire kitchen sink.
Happy birthday!
The tree. What? They are arborists. That was a lot of tree removal.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah. Okay. They didn't quite need everything there, but that was the message was received. They get an ult out of Pleta here as well. He's going to flash for the Pulverize, looks for an option. Hostile takeover means that nothing's going to come of it. Aiming will secure that one. Shock Blast comes in. Showmaker wanting to get more done. But they are going to have to settle with just winning the game, I think. And Showmaker is just going to push them all the way to the back of the fountain. Frog turned back up again, but he still doesn't like the state of what's going on here, and still Aiming is just going to grab that kill. Flashes in. There's a whole lot going on, but I think the Nexus is still going to fall down. The Renata is going to die as well. That is another stray Shock Blast picking up a kill. And Lucid just Arctic assaulting around, and there's a sad B in the fountain to represent DRX's feelings for the series. 2-0 here for D+. Looking pretty good as they move towards their Saturday showdown against Humble Life Esports.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear there was a big gap in terms of skill, in terms of performance between these two teams. D+, they are seeking that second place spot, that first round bye when we come to the playoffs, and DRX were not the opponent who are going to stop them from getting to it.
Yeah.
Very convincing game too. You know, I think for DRX this was a bit of a frustrating one because there was a lot of things where it's just misexecution in the early game. You know, Yehu's dive, the whole lane swap thing. I feel like the draft as well had some issues. Bit of a disappointing one. Game one, definitely better than this. And ultimately, you know, even though it wasn't a great series from them, I think Frog having some good moments.
I really, really hope that DRX also kind of watched this from the lens of this is against a team that is really, really good.
Yeah.
And Frog, I think, did better than I expect Rascal to have done. And I'm like an old big fan of Rascal's, but it just hasn't been it. As he just shown his mouse. Bit of a shout out to Logitech.
Yeah, this is a 3rd vs 9th situation. I don't think you can judge the outcome of the series on any individual player.
Yeah.
Always going to be pretty one-sided, and definitely things you'd hope would have gone better, things to learn from, but D+, this was clean sailing for them, especially in this game too, and a big match ahead of them this week, so they need to go in with full confidence, and it looks like they were having a good time. They seem pretty confident after this one.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what my prediction was, because I still think that D+ versus Helma Life Esports is going to be a very close one. This was honestly the beginning of the end. Yehu just, after this, was kind of a shadow of his former self, after knowing that he had so much control of the lane and then threw it in the bin.
Yeah, not a good feeling. And this fight, really just not able to get onto the key targets and all being stuck in the pit. Honestly, Kellen, kind of a masterful play to keep them all interested, you know, uses himself just as bait. And DRX fall for it, move back in the pit, get corralled in. And then here...
the Bramble Smash was what did it to Showmaker.
Bit of an unfortunate one.
Not bad for Birthday Boy, though, being able to pick up that kill. Actually played decently well. Things kind of on fire around him. And then he had to deal with that kitchen sink moment, which was also a little bit rough.
Yeah, he also got this kill, I believe, was the one who got the credit. I think from the Leandries. Yeah, so... a couple of kills for the birthday. Hopefully DRX, I assume they'll be going off like a birthday meal and they can celebrate and forget about this series.
Yeah, I think putting this as far from your mind as you possibly can is going to be the way to move forward. D+ are a very, very good team at the moment. It's been one of our biggest sort of glow-ups for this season, I think, has been D+ finding themselves, finding some much-needed form after not necessarily meshing together, after there being so many of these like shot-calling issues and stuff like that from last year that we were constantly talking about, because there are so many good players on this team and they weren't finding sort of ways of working together. So it's really good seeing that, you know, even though they lost Canyon, they now have Lucid, and him and Showmaker are looking so good together. That's a lot of damage from Showmaker, and that's not a lot of damage from Frog.
No, didn't have a good time. The lane swap didn't really pan out in his favor. And playing against aiming in lane, playing against Ash as a Gnar in lane, sounds like a personal hell.
Yeah, does not look too good at all. As checking out the coach's booth there just a little bit. Zephyr just going over some last-minute things before they send the players up to do their POG interview. Not sure who's going to win it for the second one. Is it just Showmaker again?
Yeah, I think Aiming had a good game. Showmaker pretty good.
Callan's Renata is always a pretty free vote.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be mid AD, if I'm being honest.
Well,
no.
I'm gonna let the experts tell us who the POG is going to be. It's time to throw it back over to the space to break down the series.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Susan for the POG interview translation, joined by the solo POG on the side of D+ Kia, Showmaker. Congratulations on your win today. With this back-to-back POG today, you are now tied with Canyon on the first place in the POG leaderboard with 700 POC points. How do you feel? You always talked about, you know, coming at Canyon to kill him, so you're getting really close. How do you feel? Yeah, I mean, feels amazing. Also, I mean, I almost said I'm honored to be tied with Canyon, but I think it's weird. So I think it just feels amazing to be on top of the leaderboard as well. So we had a very early lock-in of mid-jungle duo, Viego LeBlancom, as soon as you saw the opponent going for Ashe in Italy. I think that's the mainstream comp. And I think the what opponent went for was the mainstream comp. So we wanted to just go with the champions that we are feeling very confident. And then you were going for a very interesting rune choice and also spell choices. Was it all for the laning phase? Yeah, of course. I think I just wanted to kind of invest more to the laning phase in order to buy more space for my jungler. And game number 1 was an absolute show for LeBlanc. So let's take a look at this replay together. Kellen was not in the scene, but you still managed to go in for a pick. I knew that they didn't have vision over there. So yeah. And looking at the opponent's enemy around there, I knew that no one could actually kind of zone or stop LeBlanc. And then you just said in the player comp, Tristana, tree is gone. So is that Tristana, the shortened form is tree or tuta? It's a very controversial topic over in Korean community. I mean, I usually go, I'm the team tuta, you know, Tristana. But whenever I'm actually playing on stage, I get to speak Tristana as tree. So maybe when I'm rushing, I just go with tree, but I'm honestly a team tuta. And then there were some target bans towards your card. So how did you feel after seeing the enemy removing your LeBlanc? Well, I thought it was a sign telling me that, you know, they were feeling really difficult to deal with the LeBlanc. So yeah, I thought of it as a compliment. And then you played Azir into Lucian. A lot of people take grasp when they go into a champion that's really strong in lane like Yone or Lucian, but you went for the Fleetwood fork today. I mean, yeah, grasp Azir is one of the meta right now, but still, Fleetwood fork is also really good. And then we had counter jungle action early on and also a lane swap. So did you have everything in mind and how did you deal with that? Well, to be honest, I was not expecting that to happen, but my teammates was really good with their reaction to their enemy's early game strategy. After winning game 2, we noticed that all the DPLSkia players were actually gathered up in the coach's booth. So, what were you guys talking about? Maybe team dinner? No, nothing about food or menu. We just wanted to go over some of the plays happened in that game number 2, especially the Herald team fight. Now your next matchup is the Saturday Showdown up against Hana Life Esports. Given your victory in the first round robin, you must be pretty confident, right? Right now, I think their momentum is looking very strong and they are one of the, or maybe, if not the only, I think they're one of the top dogs in the LCK, so I think we should not let our guards down. And today, we, just as usual, have so many DPLSkia fans out here supporting you, especially there was a fan sign filled with letters that was expressing their love for DPLSkia. Anything to say for the fans? I'm always very grateful and I always appreciate your support. So next time I will come back with even better performance. Thank you so much. And that will be the end of the interview from Showmaker. Back to the space. Thank you.